I stood in the kitchen of my parents' house, the heat from the oven flushing my cheeks, while the sound of laughter drifted in from the dining room. It was my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. I had been there since 8 a.m., marinating the roast, arranging the flowers, and setting the table with the good china that Mom was too terrified to handle herself. But I wasn't at the table. I was scraping gravy off a serving spoon, invisible. "Where's Bella?" I heard Aunt Marge ask loudly. "I haven't seen our superstar yet." "Oh, you know Bella," my mother's voice rang out, dripping with that sugary pride she never used when saying my name. "She's wrapping up a huge case. High-profile divorce. She's indispensable at that firm. Truly indispensable." I gripped the edge of the sink. Indispensable. I walked out with the platter of roast beef, heavy and hot in my hands. The dining room was packed with relatives. As I set the meat down, nobody looked up. Nobody said thank you. They were all looking at the doorway. Bella breezed in. She was wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than the car I drove in college. She didn't look tired. She looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine photo shoot. "Sorry I'm late," she announced, not sounding sorry at all. She dropped her designer bag on the chair I had just pulled out for myself. "Client emergency. You know how it is. If I don't sign off on the settlement, nobody gets paid. Sit. Dad beamed, pouring her a glass of wine. "We were just talking about you." I quietly moved her bag and sat down. "So, Anna," Uncle Jerry asked, fork hovering halfway to his mouth. "Still doing that computer thing at home? What is it again? Gaming?" The table went quiet. This was the ritual. The humbling of Anna. "I'm a software architect, Uncle Jerry," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I build security infrastructures for corporate data." Bella let out a short, sharp laugh. It sounded like glass breaking. "She means she sits in her pajamas and plays with code," Bella said, winking at the table. "I tried to call her at 11 a.m. last Tuesday, and she didn't answer. Probably sleeping in. Must be nice to not have a real job with real hours." "I was in a meeting with a client in Zurich," I said, cutting a piece of meat. "Time zones, Bella." "Right. Zurich," Mom sighed, shaking her head as if I were a child telling a tall tale. "Anna, honey, maybe if you put this much effort into finding a husband instead of whatever this is, you'd be as settled as your sister." I looked at Bella. She was smiling, basking in the glow of being the golden child. They saw a powerful attorney. I saw a woman who had borrowed $3,000 from me 6 months ago to pay off a credit card bill she hid from her husband, Mark. "Actually," I said, putting my fork down. "Since we are talking about money. Bella, did you bring the check for the catering? Or am I covering that too, like the deposit?" The room went ice cold. Bella's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before recovering. "Oh, Anna. Always counting pennies. I'll Venmo you." "Don't be so tacky at Mom and Dad's party." "It's not tacky to expect to be paid back," I said. "Enough," Dad snapped. He glared at me. "Don't ruin the night, Anna. Your sister is under a lot of pressure. Real pressure. Not computer stress." I finished the meal in silence. I cleared the table in silence. I washed the dishes while they ate the cake I had bought. When I finally got home to my apartment, a place my parents had never visited because they thought it was a rental waste of money, my phone buzzed. It was the family group chat. Bella had posted a meme. It was a picture of a person sleeping on a pile of trash with a laptop, captioned, "My sister working hard today." Below it, Mom had reacted with a laughing emoji. Dad had sent a thumbs up. I sat on my Italian leather sofa, looking at the screen. The silence in my apartment was different from the silence in their house. This was the silence of peace. Of success they didn't know about. I looked at the notifications from Sentinel Corps, the company I founded 5 years ago. I looked at the contract pending approval, a security audit for the state judicial system. I didn't type an angry retort. I didn't cry. I simply tapped the 3 dots in the corner of the screen. Leave group. It was a small click, but it felt like a gunshot. 2 weeks of silence followed. It was blissful. I focused on the quarterly review for Sentinel Core. My team was expanding. We were looking at acquiring a smaller firm in Austin. My fake job was currently generating 7 figures in annual revenue, but to my family, I was still just Anna who fixed the Wi-Fi. Then the phone rang. It was Bella. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of a code review, staring at 3 monitors of cascading data. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. And again. I sighed and picked up. Hello, Bella. Why did you leave the group chat? She demanded, no greeting, no preamble. Her voice was high, tight. Mom is crying. She thinks you hate us. I'm working, Bella. What do you need? I need you to come over. Now. I can't. I'm working. Stop it, she snapped. Stop pretending. Look, something is wrong with my laptop. And my phone. I think I've been hacked. The tone of her voice shifted. The arrogance cracked, revealing genuine fear underneath. Hacked how? I asked, my fingers still hovering over my keyboard. Files are moving. Things I deleted are showing up in folders they shouldn't be in. And my iCloud is acting weird. I got a notification about a sync error. She lowered her voice to a whisper. Anna, there are things on there. Private things. Client files. Call your firm's IT department, I said. That's standard protocol. No. She practically screamed. I can't let them see it. I can't let anyone see it. You have to fix it. You do computers. Just come over and scrub it. Reset the servers or whatever you do. I leaned back in my ergonomic chair. Bella, I am a cybersecurity architect. I don't fix laptops. And I certainly don't help people destroy evidence, if that's what you're asking. It's not evidence. It's just personal privacy. Please. I can't ask Mark because he doesn't know the passcode, and if he sees. She trailed off. If he sees what? Just come fix it. The arrogance was back. Mom was right, you're so difficult. Look, I'll let you back in the group chat, okay? I'll even tell Mom to be nice to you at Thanksgiving. Just get over here. I closed my eyes. She really thought that was a currency I traded in. Approval. Scraps of affection. I charge for consultations, I said calmly. What? If you want me to look at your digital security, I charge a consulting fee. My rate is $300 an hour, with a 4-hour minimum. There was a stunned silence on the other end. You're charging your sister, she hissed. After everything Dad paid for when you were growing up. You ungrateful little. Dad paid for my state college tuition, which I paid back in full when I was 25, I reminded her. You got the law school fund. You got the down payment for your house. I am a professional. If you want my help, you pay my rate. You're joking. I'm sending you a contract. Sign it, pay the retainer, and I'll look at your logs. Otherwise, call Apple support. You are delusional, Bella spat. You think because you know how to restart a router you're some kind of expert. I make more in a month than you make in a year. I don't need your charity. I was trying to throw you a bone, make you feel useful. Goodbye, Bella. If this leaks, it's your fault, she screamed. You hear me? If anything happens, it's on you. I hung up. My hand was shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally saying no. I didn't know then how bad it was. I didn't know what she was hiding. But I knew my sister. Bella wasn't scared of losing client files. Bella was scared of losing her image. I went back to my monitors. The code didn't judge. The code didn't lie. It just executed commands. If only families were that logical. 3 days later, my phone blew up. But it wasn't Bella this time. It was Dad. "What did you do?" he roared the moment I answered. "Hello to you too, Dad. Don't get smart with me. Bella is in the hospital. She had a panic attack. She collapsed at the firm." My stomach tightened. "Is she okay?" "No, she is not okay. Her life is over, and she says you caused it." "I haven't seen Bella in weeks," I said, confused. "How could I cause a panic attack?" "The files, Anna. The pictures. She asked you for help. She begged you. And you refused because of some petty jealousy over a group chat. Now the whole city has seen them." I hung up on him and immediately opened my laptop. It didn't take long to find it. It was all over the local legal gossip blogs, and had started trending on Twitter in our area. Prominent divorce attorney's own scandal, evidence of affair with high-profile client leaked. I clicked the link. My jaw dropped. It wasn't a hack. It was a disaster. There were screenshots of text messages, time-stamped and explicit. There were photos. And the man in the photos wasn't Mark, her husband of 4 years. It was Elias Thorne, a senior partner at a rival firm, a man currently representing the opposing side in Bella's biggest divorce case. This wasn't just adultery. This was a massive conflict of interest. It was disbarment territory. I read the comments. People were brutal. But then I saw a statement released by Bella's PR representative, which I assumed was just Bella typing frantically from a hospital bed. "Ms. Sterling has been the victim of a sophisticated cyber attack targeting her confidential files. We have reason to believe this was a malicious act of sabotage by a disgruntled individual with advanced technical knowledge." My blood ran cold. Disgruntled individual with advanced technical knowledge. She was framing me. She wasn't naming me yet, but she was planting the seed. My intercom buzzed. It was Mark. I buzzed him up. When he walked into my apartment, he looked like a ghost. He hadn't shaved, and his eyes were red-rimmed. "Mark, I'm so sorry," I said. He collapsed onto my sofa, putting his head in his hands. "Is it true, Anna? Bella swears she didn't send those texts. She says you planted them. That you hacked her cloud to ruin her because you were mad about the anniversary dinner." I sat down opposite him. "Mark, look at me. Do you believe that? Do you believe I would destroy a marriage and a career because of a mean comment?" He looked up, tears streaming down his face. "I don't know what to believe. She's so convincing. She's crying, saying she loves me, saying the photos are deepfakes you made with AI." "They aren't AI, Mark," I said softly. "Look at the background in that photo. That's the hotel in Chicago she went to for the conference last month. The one I drove her to the airport for." Mark flinched. The reality hit him. "She's lying," I said firmly. "I didn't hack her. She came to me asking for help because her files were moving around. She knew she messed up. She probably synced her private phone to her work cloud by accident and panicked. She wants to sue you," Mark whispered. "Her firm, they are talking about a lawsuit to deflect liability. If they can prove it was a hack, they might save face regarding client confidentiality." "Let them try," I said, though my heart was pounding against my ribs. "She's my wife," Mark said, his voice breaking. "But she's been calling you names I can't repeat. She hates you, Anna. Why does she hate you so much? Because I know who she really is, I answered. And she can't stand that. Mark left an hour later. He didn't go back to the hospital. He went to a hotel. I stood by the window, looking down at the city lights. I had built my life on security. On firewalls. On keeping bad actors out. But I had forgotten the most basic rule of security: the biggest threat always comes from the inside. The next morning, Mom came. She didn't ring the intercom. She slipped in when a neighbor was leaving. I opened my front door to find her standing there, clutching her purse, looking smaller and older than I remembered. "Mom," I said. "I'm working. Can I come in?" Her voice was trembling. I stepped aside. She walked in and looked around my apartment. It was the first time she had ever been inside. She noted the floor-to-ceiling windows, the high-end minimalist furniture, the expensive art. Her eyes widened, but she didn't comment on it. She didn't ask how I afforded it. She was too focused on her mission. "Bella is ruined," Mom said, sitting on the edge of the sofa without taking off her coat. "Bella ruined herself, Mom. She cheated on Mark. She violated legal ethics. She's your sister." Mom snapped, her eyes flashing with sudden anger. "She has a reputation. She has a career. Do you know how hard she worked for that degree? Do you know how proud we were?" "Were," I noted. Past tense. "We can still fix this," Mom said, leaning forward. Her tone shifted to pleading. "We can fix it, Anna. But we need your help." I told her, "I don't scrub evidence." "No, not that," Mom waved her hand dismissively. "The narrative. The story. Right now, the firm is investigating. If they find out she was careless, she loses her license. But if it was a hack..." I stared at her. "You want me to lie and say I saw a hacker?" "No," Mom said, and then she said the words that broke whatever was left of my heart. "We need you to say that you did it." The air left the room. "Excuse me. Just a prank," Mom said quickly, talking fast. "A prank gone wrong. You were mad about the dinner. You have computer skills. You wanted to embarrass her, but you didn't mean for it to go this far. If you take the blame, Bella is the victim. The firm won't fire a victim. She keeps her license. She keeps her life. And what happens to me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I go to jail. I get sued." "We talked to a lawyer," Mom said. "Since it's a family dispute, Bella won't press criminal charges. She'll just sue for damages, and we can settle it quietly. You don't have a real career to lose, Anna. You do freelance work. You can change your name, move to a different city. Start over. Nobody knows who you are anyway. You don't have a real career to lose." That was it. The snap. I looked at my mother. I looked at the woman who had bandaged my knees when I fell off my bike, who had taught me to read. And I saw a stranger. I saw a woman who was willing to burn me alive to keep her golden child warm. A cold, calm clarity washed over me. The sadness evaporated, replaced by a steel spine. "So," I said, my voice steady. "You want me to confess to a federal cybercrime, destroy my own future, and pay Bella damages, just so she doesn't have to face the consequences of sleeping with a married man?" "It's not like that," Mom cried. "It's about family. You're the strong one, Anna. You can handle it. Bella is fragile. She'll break. Please. Do this for me. Do this for the family." I reached into my pocket and tapped the screen of my phone. I stopped the recording I had started the moment she walked in. "Get out," I said. "Anna, please. Get out of my house, Mom." I stood up. I wasn't the little girl in the kitchen anymore. I was the CEO of Sentinel Corps. And take my key. I know you have the spare key I gave Dad for emergencies. Give it to me. She looked shocked by my tone. Trembling, she reached into her purse and slapped the key on the table. You are selfish, she hissed, tears streaming down her face. I raised you better than this. If Bella loses everything, it is on your head. No, I said, opening the door. It's on hers. And now, it's on yours too. She left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I locked the deadbolt. Then I walked to my desk, sat down at my triple monitor setup, and cracked my knuckles. They wanted a hacker. No. They needed a scapegoat. But they had just declared war on the wrong, unemployed gamer. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't need to. Rage is a potent fuel, but controlled rage, strategic rage, is high-octane rocket fuel. Mom's visit confirmed one thing: they were going to come for me. If I didn't volunteer to be the villain, they would paint me as one. I needed proof. Irrefutable, mathematical proof. I started digging. Bella wasn't technical. She used the same password for everything, Bella Law 1. I knew this because I had set up her Wi-Fi 6 years ago, and she hadn't changed it since. However, I didn't hack her. I didn't touch her accounts. That would be illegal and would validate their accusations. Instead, I used open-source intelligence, OSINT techniques. I looked at the metadata of the leaked photos circulating on the forums. Amateurs think a photo is just an image. Professionals know a photo is a diary. I downloaded the original, leaked image file from the hosting site where it first appeared. I ran it through an EXIF data viewer. Device: iPhone 14 Pro Max. Date: October 14th. Location: the Omni Hotel, Chicago. That was standard. But then I looked at the upload path. The leak hadn't come from a hack of the iCloud server. The files had originated from a shared Dropbox folder link that had been posted to a public Reddit thread. I traced the Dropbox link. It was dead now, deleted. But the internet is written in ink, not pencil. I used the Wayback Machine and cached versions of the page. The Dropbox folder was named BS_backup_2023. Bella Sterling. I dug deeper into the hosting logs of the cloud service. Bella's firm used a shared enterprise cloud. I knew this because I had casually recommended the provider to her years ago. The provider had a public status page that logged API calls for transparency. I cross-referenced the timestamps. At 2:45 p.m. on the day of the leak, a device named iPad_CONF_room_B had initiated a sync with Bella_personal_iCloud. I sat back, laughing softly in the dark room. It was so stupid. It was tragically, hilariously stupid. Bella had signed into her personal iCloud on the conference room iPad at work, probably to check iMessage or download a personal file. She had forgotten to sign out. Or more likely, she had clicked yes when the iPad asked to sync photos to this device without reading the prompt. The iPad was shared. It was linked to the firm's main backup drive. When the firm's backup ran at 3 p.m., it sucked up everything on that iPad, including the hidden album from Bella's synced photos. And here was the kicker: the firm's backup drive had a public review folder for interns to sort through case files. Her explicit photos had been dumped right into a folder accessible to 20 interns. One of them must have seen the goldmine and leaked it. There was no hacker. There was no malware. There was just a narcissist who didn't understand that sync meant sync. I compiled the data. I created a visual timeline. Step 1, Bella signs in. Step 2, Bella accepts sync. Step 3, server automated backup runs. Step 4, leak. I printed the logs. I saved the cache files. I had the digital smoking gun. It proved that the intrusion came from inside her office, authenticated by her credentials on a device she authorized. But I wasn't just satisfied with defense. I looked at the financial situation. I pulled public property records for Mom and Dad's house. I knew they had refinanced 3 times to pay for Bella's lifestyle and that big wedding. What they didn't know was who held their debt. 2 years ago, their bank had bundled some high-risk mortgages and sold them off. A private investment trust had bought them. The Vesta Trust. My parents thought they paid the bank. The bank just serviced the loan. The owner of the note was the Vesta Trust. And the sole beneficiary of the Vesta Trust. Anna Sterling. I had bought their mortgage specifically to ensure they wouldn't lose the house when they inevitably ran out of money. I had been protecting them from the shadows. Now, looking at the papers on my desk, I realized I held the deed to the roof over their heads. The same roof they wanted to kick me out from under. My printer whirred, spitting out the last of the receipts. I organized them into a binder. Exhibit A, the user error. Exhibit B, the recording of Mom's attempted coercion. Exhibit C, the financial leverage. I patted the binder. Okay, Bella. Let's play. 3 days later, a process server knocked on my door. He handed me a thick envelope. Anna Sterling. Yes. You've been served. I closed the door and opened the packet on my kitchen island. It was heavy. Sterling and Associates versus Anna Sterling. The lawsuit was a work of fiction that belonged on the New York Times bestseller list. Count 1, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Count 2, tortious interference with business relations. Count 3, violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Count 4, defamation of character. She was suing me for $200,000 in damages, plus legal fees. The narrative in the complaint was sickening. It described me as an estranged, jealous sibling, with a history of instability and envy of the plaintiff's success. It claimed I had used military-grade decryption to steal private property. It was signed by Bella's partner at the firm. They were doubling down. They needed a villain so badly that they were willing to perjure themselves in court. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I had on speed dial. Jacob Vance and Partners, a crisp voice answered. Hi, it's Anna. Is Jacob in? One moment for Ms. Sterling. A moment later, a booming voice came on the line. Anna. To what do I owe the pleasure? Are we ready to move forward with the acquisition of that Austin startup? Jacob Vance was one of the most feared litigators in the state. He was also the corporate counsel for Sentinel Corp. He knew exactly who I was. He knew I wasn't a gamer. He knew I was the woman who built the encryption software his own firm used. Not today, Jacob. I need to retain you personally. I'm being sued. Sued? By whom? A patent troll. My sister. There was a pause. The one you told me about? The one who thinks you fix printers. That's the one. She's suing me for hacking her. She wants 200 grand. Jacob laughed. It was a deep, menacing sound. She's suing you for hacking. That's like suing Godzilla for stepping on a Lego. Send me the complaint. I scanned the pages and emailed them over. I could hear him humming as he read. Oh, this is sloppy, Jacob muttered. This is incredibly sloppy. Military-grade decryption. That's not even a legal term. Anna, this is defamation per se against you. We can countersue for legal fees, damages, and oh, I like this. I really like this. I don't want to settle, Jacob, I said. They want to drag me into court to humiliate me. They think I'll be scared. They think I'll show up with a public defender and beg for mercy. And what do you want to do? I want to go to court, I said. I want to let them perjure themselves. I want them to say it all on the record. And then I want to drop the hammer. The hammer being, I have logs proving it was user error. And I have a recording of our mother trying to suborn perjury and tamper with a witness. Jacob whistled. That's not a hammer, Anna. That's a nuke. Can you represent me? Represent you? Anna, I'll do it pro bono just for the entertainment value. But no, you'll pay me full rate so we can tack it onto the judgment against her. Good. One thing, Jacob said. If we do this, your anonymity is gone. The court records will show your assets if we bring up your standing. They'll know about Sentinel Corps. I looked around my empty apartment. I thought about the text messages. The way Dad looked at me. The way Mom threw me away. Let them know, I said. It's time they learned that the unemployed gamer signs their paychecks. The week before the court date, the harassment escalated. My relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, started messaging me. Mom had clearly spun a sob story. How could you do this to your sister? Drop the lawsuit, Anna. You're tearing the family apart. Your father is heartbroken. Have you no shame? I blocked them all. One by one. Silence was my shield. Then, 2 nights before the hearing, they showed up. It was raining. I saw headlights flash against my living room wall. I checked the security camera feed. It was Dad's truck. Dad and Mom stood on my porch. Bella was in the car, watching. Dad pounded on the door. Anna. Open this door. We know you're in there. I sat on my couch, holding a mug of tea, watching them on the iPad screen. I didn't move. Anna. Mom screamed. Don't be a coward. Come out here and fix this. You can't let Bella go to court on Monday. She'll lose her license if this drags on. That's the point, I whispered to the empty room. We know you don't have the money for a lawyer. Dad yelled. You're going to bankrupt yourself. We're trying to save you from yourself, you stupid girl. Just sign the confession, and we'll forgive you. Forgive me. The audacity was breathtaking. They were banging on my door, demanding I destroy my life for a crime I didn't commit, and they called it forgiveness. I picked up my phone and sent a single email to Jacob Vance. Subject, security footage. Body, attached is video evidence of the plaintiffs harassing the defendant at her home 48 hours before trial. Please add this to the pile. Then I texted Dad. Get off my property. Or I call the police. The cameras are recording. On the screen, I saw Dad check his phone. His face turned purple. He looked up at the camera lens above the door, he hadn't noticed it before. He raised his fist, shaking it at the electronic eye. You are dead to us, he screamed. You hear me? If you walk into that courtroom, you have no family. He grabbed Mom by the arm and dragged her back to the truck. Bella didn't even look up from her phone in the passenger seat. They drove away. I sat there for a long time. The threat hung in the air, you have no family. But the truth was, I hadn't had a family for a long time. I had hostages. I had people who held my childhood ransom in exchange for compliance. I stood up and walked to my closet. I pushed aside the hoodies and jeans I usually wore. In the back, protected by a garment bag, was my CEO armor. A bespoke, charcoal gray suit tailored in Milan. Silk blouse. Stilettos that clicked like weapons. I took it out and hung it on the doorframe. Tomorrow, Anna the gamer died. Tomorrow, Anna the architect would rise. I went to my safe and pulled out the deed to their house. I placed it in my briefcase next to the evidence binder. I slept soundly that night. It was the sleep of a soldier the night before the war ends. The courthouse was cold and smelled of floor wax and anxiety. I arrived early. I met Jacob in the lobby. He looked impeccable in a navy pinstripe suit, his silver hair combed back. He smiled when he saw me. "Sharp," he said, nodding at my suit. "You look like you own the place." "I wrote the code for their scheduling system," I said dryly. "So in a way, I do." We walked into the courtroom. Bella and her lawyer were already there. Her lawyer was a man named Mr. Sterling, no relation, just a coincidence, though Bella loved to joke that it was fate. He was young, aggressive, and looked like he watched too many legal dramas. Bella looked pitiful. She was wearing a modest cardigan, not her usual power suits. She wore minimal makeup. She was playing the role of the victim perfectly. When I walked in, Bella's eyes widened. She had never seen me in a tailored suit. She had never seen me look expensive. For a second, uncertainty flickered in her eyes, but she shook it off. Mom and Dad were in the gallery, sitting behind Bella. They glared at me with pure hatred. Dad crossed his arms. Mom looked away, refusing to acknowledge my presence. "All rise," the bailiff announced. Judge Evelyn Parker entered. She was a stern woman in her 60s with glasses perched on the end of her nose. I knew her reputation. She hated time wasters. Docket number 405, Judge Parker read. Sterling versus Sterling. Defamation and damages. She looked over her glasses at the parties. Counsel, opening statements. Mr. Sterling stood up. He buttoned his jacket and strutted to the podium. "Your Honor," he began, his voice theatrical. "This is a tragic case of sibling rivalry gone toxic. My client, Bella Sterling, is a respected pillar of the legal community. Her sister, the defendant, is an unemployed individual who spends her days in online gaming communities. Jealous of her sister's success and bitter over a perceived slight at a family gathering, the defendant used illegal hacking tools to breach my client's private cloud." He pointed a finger at me. "She stole intimate, private photos and disseminated them to destroy my client's reputation. We will prove that only someone with the defendant's specific technical obsession could have bypassed the security measures. We ask for full damages to compensate for the emotional and professional devastation inflicted by this malicious, jealous sister." Bella dabbed at her dry eyes with a tissue. Mom reached over the railing to pat her shoulder. "It was a good performance. If I didn't know the truth, I would have hated me too." "Mr. Vance," the judge asked. Jacob didn't strut. He didn't use big hand gestures. He stood up slowly, buttoned his jacket, and looked bored. "Your Honor," Jacob said, his voice deep and calm. "The defense will prove that no hacking occurred. We will prove that the plaintiff, through her own technological incompetence, leaked her own files. We will prove that this lawsuit is a fraudulent attempt to cover up the plaintiff's own professional misconduct." He paused, letting the silence hang. "And," Jacob added, looking directly at Bella, "we will prove that the defendant is not an unemployed gamer, but a high-net-worth individual who actually designed the very cybersecurity protocols the plaintiff claims were breached." Bella froze. Her lawyer frowned. "Call your first witness," Judge Parker said. Bella took the stand. She swore to tell the truth. "Ms. Sterling," her lawyer asked, "did you give your sister your passwords?" "Never," Bella said, her voice trembling. She guessed them. Or used a program. She's always on her computer. She told me once she could hack anything." "Liar," I thought. "And did you see her with your device?" "Yes," Bella lied. "At the anniversary party. I saw her holding my phone when I went to the bathroom. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I felt a flash of anger. She was perjuring herself. She was lying under oath to a judge." "Thank you, no further questions," her lawyer said, looking smug. Jacob stood up for the cross-examination. He didn't bring any papers with him. He just walked to the podium and smiled a shark's smile. Ms. Sterling, Jacob said. You claim my client hacked you. Are you aware of how cloud syncing works? I'm not a computer person, Bella sniffed. That's why she targeted me. Indeed. Are you aware that on October 14th, at 2:45 p.m., a device named iPad_conf_room_B logged into your personal account? Bella blinked. I don't know. Do you use the conference room iPad? Sometimes. To check email. And did you sign out? I assumed it signs out automatically. Bella snapped. It does not, Jacob said. Ms. Sterling, I am handing you Exhibit A. These are the server logs from your firm's cloud provider. Can you read the highlighted line? Bella looked at the paper. Her hands started to shake. It says, Sync initiated. User authorized. User authorized, Jacob repeated. And who was the user logged in? Bella didn't answer. She looked at her lawyer. Her lawyer looked confused. Ms. Sterling. It was me, she whispered. Speak up, please, Judge Parker ordered. It was me, Bella said, her face turning pale. But Anna could have spoofed it. She could have remote accessed the iPad. We'll get to that, Jacob said. But first, let's talk about the timeline. You accused my client of hacking you 2 weeks after this sync occurred. Did you, at any point, ask my client to help you cover this up? No. Bella cried. I never. Jacob turned to the bench. Your Honor, the defense would like to enter Exhibit B. An audio recording taken in the defendant's home, featuring the plaintiff's mother, acting as an agent for the plaintiff. I watched Mom in the gallery. Her face went from angry to terrified. She grabbed Dad's arm. Play it, Judge Parker said. The courtroom went silent. And then, Mom's voice, clear as a bell, filled the room. We need you to say that you did it. Just a prank gone wrong. You don't have a real career to lose, Anna. Bella's mouth fell open. She looked at Mom. Mom shrank into her seat. Jacob paused the recording. You don't have a real career to lose, Jacob repeated. He turned to me. Anna, would you please stand? I stood up. I smoothed my jacket. I lifted my chin. Your Honor, Jacob said. May I introduce the defendant? Ms. Anna Sterling. Founder and majority shareholder of Sentinel Core Data Systems. Net worth approximately $25 million. And, incidentally, the proprietary owner of the software this court uses to secure its own documents. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was a vacuum. Bella looked at me. Really looked at me. And for the first time in her life, she realized she wasn't the biggest person in the room. The silence in that courtroom wasn't empty, it was heavy. It pressed down on everyone like a physical weight. I watched the realization wash over my family in slow motion. It was fascinating, in a morbid way, like watching a building implode. First, there was confusion. My mother's brow furrowed, her lips moving silently as she tried to process the words, $25 million. Then came the denial. She shook her head slightly, looking at my father as if to say, that's not possible. That's Anna. Anna fixes routers. But Bella? Bella knew. She stared at me, and for the first time in her life, she didn't see her little sister, the failure. She saw a predator she hadn't bothered to check for teeth. Judge Parker cleared her throat. The sound echoed like a gunshot. She looked down at the dossier Jacob had handed her, the proof of my ownership of Sentinel Core. Then she looked at me. Her expression shifted from the bored irritation of a public servant to genuine respect. Ms. Sterling, Judge Parker said, addressing me directly. Am I to understand that your company is the current vendor for the 12th District's encrypted docketing system? Yes, Your Honor, I replied, my voice steady. We implemented the version 4.0 update last month. I personally oversaw the patch that prevents the exact kind of brute force entry the plaintiff accuses me of using. The judge turned her gaze to Bella. It was a withering look. So let me get this straight. You are accusing the architect of the bank vault of breaking into a piggy bank using a hammer. I. Bella stammered. Her composure was gone. The victim mask had slipped, revealing the terrified, incompetent child beneath. Mr. Sterling, the judge snapped at Bella's lawyer. Are you aware that bringing a frivolous suit for the purpose of harassment, based on perjury, is a sanctionable offense? Bella's lawyer looked like he wanted to dissolve into the floor. He started gathering his papers. Your Honor, in light of new evidence regarding the plaintiff's authentication logs, I would like to request a recess to consult with my client. Denied, Judge Parker said coldly. We are finishing this today. Mr. Vance, continue. Jacob Vance didn't gloat. He didn't need to. He simply walked back to the podium and picked up a single piece of paper. Ms. Sterling, Jacob said to Bella, who was still trembling in the witness box. Let's go back to the text messages in the leaked file. The ones you claimed my client fabricated. You swore under oath 5 minutes ago that you never sent them. I didn't. Bella cried, clinging to her lie like a life raft. Then explain this, Jacob said. He projected an image onto the courtroom screen. It was a digital receipt. This is a subpoenaed record from Verizon. It matches the timestamps of the leaked iMessages to the data packets sent from your personal device. The geolocation tags place you in the same hotel room as Mr. Elias Thorne. A gasp rippled through the gallery. I didn't turn around, but I knew my parents were paralyzed. Their perfect daughter, the moral compass of the family, was being dissected. Jacob continued, relentless. And here is a Venmo transaction from your account to Mr. Thorne, dated the morning after, with the caption, "Thanks for the advice." Tell me, Ms. Sterling, do you usually pay opposing counsel for advice while representing a client against them? It's not what it looks like. Bella shrieked. Anna faked it. She's a genius, you said it yourself. She faked all of it. Enough. Judge Parker slammed her gavel. Ms. Sterling, you are dangerously close to being held in contempt. You have presented zero evidence. The defense has presented server logs, carrier records, and audio recordings of witness tampering involving your mother. The judge leaned forward. I have heard enough. I don't need closing arguments. But before she could rule, there was a movement in the back of the courtroom. Someone stood up. It was Mark, Bella's husband. He had been sitting quietly in the back row, separate from my parents. I hadn't seen him come in. He looked tired. He looked broken. But as he stood up, he looked done. Mark? Bella whispered, her eyes widening. Mark, tell them. Tell them she's crazy. Mark didn't look at her. He looked at me. He gave me a small, sad nod. Then he turned and walked out of the courtroom. The heavy wooden doors swung shut behind him with a finality that everyone felt. Mark! Bella screamed, standing up in the witness box. Don't you walk away from me. Sit down, plaintiff, the bailiff barked. I watched her unravel. This was the woman who had tormented me for decades. This was the woman who called me a loser because I didn't have a corner office. And now, she was standing alone, stripped of her lies, stripped of her husband, and about to be stripped of her career. You might think I felt happy. I didn't. I felt a cold, hard satisfaction. It wasn't joy. It was the feeling of balancing an equation. The math finally worked. The judge adjusted her glasses. I am dismissing this case with prejudice, she declared. Furthermore, I am referring the transcripts of this trial, along with the evidence of perjury and potential collusion with opposing counsel, to the State Bar Association for immediate review. I am also ordering the plaintiff to pay all legal fees incurred by the defendant. She looked at Bella one last time. You used the court as a weapon to bully your sister. You forgot that the law is a shield, not a sword for the vain. We are adjourned. The gavel banged. It was over. As the room began to shuffle with movement, I didn't move. I took a deep breath, inhaling the stale air. It tasted like freedom. If you have ever been the scapegoat, if you have ever been the one everyone dumps on because they think you're weak, I want you to know something. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is just loading the gun. I gathered my files. Jacob winked at me. Lunch? I know a great steakhouse. My treat, even though you can definitely afford it. I'd love that, Jacob, I said. I stood up and turned around. And there they were. The monsters of my childhood. My mother and father were standing by the railing, looking at me like they had never seen me before. They weren't looking at their daughter. They were looking at the $25 million walking in a charcoal suit. Walking down the aisle toward the exit felt like walking through a minefield that had already detonated. The damage was done, now there was just smoke. Bella was slumped at the plaintiff's table, sobbing into her hands. Her lawyer was packing his briefcase with aggressive speed, clearly desperate to get away from the radioactive fallout of her career. She was alone. Truly alone. I walked past her. I didn't stop. I didn't say, I told you so. I didn't say, you deserve this. My indifference was a worse punishment than any insult. I simply ceased to acknowledge her existence. But I couldn't escape my parents that easily. They were waiting for me in the hallway, right outside the double doors. The moment I stepped out, Mom lunged forward. For a split second I flinched, expecting a slap. Old habits die hard. But she didn't raise her hand. She reached out to grab my arm, her face twisted into a grotesque mask of pleading and pride. Anna, she gasped, breathless. Oh my God, Anna. Why didn't you tell us? I stepped back, pulling my arm away as if she were contagious. Tell you what? That I wasn't the failure you needed me to be. About the company. Dad chimed in, stepping up beside her. His face was flushed, his eyes darting around the hallway to see if anyone important was watching. Sentinel Corps. The judge said you own it. We had no idea you were doing so well. Doing well? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Dad, 2 days ago you stood on my porch and told me I was dead to you. You told me I had no family. You were ready to let me take the fall for a federal crime to save Bella's reputation. We were upset. Mom said quickly, waving her hand as if shooing away a fly. Emotions were high. We were just trying to protect your sister. We thought you were struggling, Anna. We thought you had nothing to lose. If we had known you were a CEO, obviously, we would have handled it differently. I stared at them. They didn't even realize what they were saying. They were admitting it. We only abused you because we thought you were worthless. If we knew you had value, we would have treated you better. That is the sickness of the family dynamic. Love is conditional. Respect is a transaction. And my currency had just skyrocketed. So I said, my voice low and dangerous. You're saying that my worth as a human being, as your daughter, is tied to my net worth. That I only deserve protection if I'm rich. No, of course not. Dad sputtered. He tried to put on his fatherly authority voice, but it faltered. We're just proud of you, Anna. 25 million. That's incredible. You know, the house needs a new roof, and with retirement coming up. I couldn't believe it. The body wasn't even cold yet, Bella was literally getting disbarred in the room behind us, and they were already pivoting to the new cash cow. Stop, I said. I held up a hand. You don't get to be proud. You don't get to claim this. I built this despite you, not because of you. I built this while you mocked me. While you compared me to her. While you treated me like the help. Anna, don't be like that, Mom sniffled, trying to summon tears. We're family. Family forgives. Family protects, I corrected her. You didn't protect me. You tried to sacrifice me. Just then, the courtroom doors opened. Bella stumbled out, her eyes red and swollen. She saw us standing there, the three of us in a circle. She saw Mom reaching for me. Mom? Bella croaked. Her voice was broken. Mom, Mark left. He filed the papers electronically. He's gone. Mom looked at Bella. Then she looked at me. Then she looked back at Bella. For 30 years, Mom would have rushed to Bella. She would have cooed and comforted her. But in that hallway, something shifted. Mom looked at the daughter who was about to be unemployed, humiliated and divorced. And then she looked at the daughter in the bespoke suit who owned the software company. Oh, Bella, Mom said, her voice sounding tired, almost annoyed. How could you be so careless? I told you to be careful with those devices. Bella froze. It was like she had been slapped. What? You told me Anna did it. You told me she was jealous. Well, clearly she didn't. Dad grunted, refusing to make eye contact with Bella. She's a CEO, for Christ's sake. She doesn't have time for your petty drama. You've made a mess of everything, Bella. I watched Bella's face crumble. The betrayal she was feeling. That was the air I had breathed for my entire life. Welcome to the bottom of the totem pole, sister. You guys are unbelievable, I said. You're not on her side. You're not on my side. You're on the side of whoever looks best to the neighbors. I turned to Jacob, who was watching the scene with the detached fascination of an anthropologist. Let's go, Jacob. I have a company to run. Anna, wait. Mom cried, chasing after me a few steps. When are you coming for dinner? We should celebrate. We can make your favorite. I stopped. I didn't turn around. My favorite is roast beef, I said to the empty air. But you wouldn't know that. Because I'm the one who always cooks it while you tell Bella how wonderful she is. I walked out of the courthouse and into the bright, blinding sunlight. I took out my phone and blocked their numbers. Not just leave group this time. Blocked. It felt like putting down a heavy backpack I had been carrying since kindergarten. If you're watching this and you have people in your life who only love you when you're winning, cut them off. It's better to eat alone than to dine with wolves who are measuring you for their next meal. Smash that like button if you agree that toxic family is worse than no family at all. The fallout was nuclear. Bella wasn't just disbarred, she was obliterated. The local news had a field day. Prominent attorney disbarred for perjury and revenge scheme. Her firm fired her within hours of the verdict to save their own reputation. Mark didn't just divorce her, he sued her for fraud regarding some joint finances she had mishandled. She lost the house they lived in. She lost her car. She lost her social standing. And where does a golden child go when the gold flakes off? Back to the nest. Bella moved back in with Mom and Dad. I heard this through the grapevine, specifically from my Aunt Marge, who was the only relative I hadn't blocked because she was mostly harmless and loved gossip. It's a nightmare over there, Anna, Marge whispered over the phone. Bella is depressed. She just lies on the couch drinking wine all day. And your parents, they're panicked. They refinanced the house again last year to help Bella pay off some credit cards, thinking her bonus would cover it. Now there's no bonus. There's no job. That sounds stressful, I said, sipping my morning coffee, looking out over the city skyline. They're talking about reaching out to you again, Marge warned. Your dad says you owe them. He says they raised you, so your money is family money. Let them come, I said. I'm ready. And come they did. But they couldn't call, and they couldn't get into my building because I had instructed the doorman to ban them. So they sent a letter. A certified letter, like a business transaction. Dear Anna, we are in a difficult spot. Bella needs professional help, and with the legal fees, we are behind on the mortgage. The bank is threatening foreclosure. We know things were said in the heat of the moment, but we are family. We need a loan of $50,000 to catch up on the payments and get Bella into a wellness retreat. Please. Don't let your parents lose their home. Love, Mom and Dad. I read the letter twice. A wellness retreat. Bella destroys my reputation, tries to frame me, and they want me to pay for her to go to a spa. It was time for the final move. The checkmate I had set up 2 years ago. I didn't reply to the letter. Instead, I drove to their house. My childhood home looked the same, but smaller. The grass was a little overgrown. The flashy Mercedes in the driveway, Bella's lease, was gone, repossessed. I knocked. Mom opened the door. She looked 10 years older. When she saw me, her face lit up with a pathetic hope. Anna. You came. Come in, come in. I walked into the living room. Bella was there, lying on the sofa in sweatpants, watching daytime TV. She looked up at me with dull, resentment-filled eyes. Dad was at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills. You brought the check? Dad asked, not even saying hello. Thank God. I told your mother you wouldn't leave us out on the street. I stood in the center of the room. I didn't bring a check. Dad's face fell. What? Then why are you here? To gloat. No, I said. I'm here to clarify the ownership of this house. What are you talking about? Dad snapped. It's our house. We just owe the bank. Actually, I said, pulling a document from my bag. You don't owe the bank. You owe the Vesta Trust. The bank sold your mortgage 2 years ago when you were considered high risk because of that third refinancing. So what? Bella sneered from the couch. What do you know about finance, gamer girl? I know a lot, I said calmly. Because I am the Vesta Trust. The room went silent. The TV blared a commercial for detergent, the only sound in the house. What? Mom whispered. I bought your mortgage note, I explained. I set up the trust to ensure you wouldn't lose the house if Dad retired early. I have been the one approving your late payments for the last 2 years. I have been the one keeping the wolves away. Dad turned pale. You own our debt? I own the house, essentially, I said. And right now, you are 90 days delinquent. I have the legal right to foreclose and evict you tomorrow. Bella sat up. You can't do that. Mom, tell her she can't do that. I can, I said. And after what you tried to do to me in court, trying to send me to prison for your mistakes, I should. Mom started crying. Anna, please. Where would we go? I'm not going to kick you out, I said. I watched the relief wash over them. But I have conditions. Anything, Dad said quickly. We'll pay you back. We promise. I don't want your money, I said. I have plenty. Here is the deal. You can live here, rent-free, for the rest of your lives. I will wipe the debt. Thank you, Anna. Oh, thank you. Mom sobbed, reaching for me. Stop, I said. I haven't told you the condition yet. I pointed at Bella. She leaves. Bella gasped. What? That's the condition, I said, my voice hard as diamond. I will support my parents. I will not support the woman who tried to destroy me. Bella has 30 days to vacate the premises. If she is living here on day 31, I foreclose, and you all go. You can't be serious. Bella screamed. I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I can't practice law. You have a degree, I said. You have hands. Starbucks is hiring. Target is hiring. Welcome to the real world, Bella. The one where you have to work for a living. Mom. Bella wailed. Dad. Don't let her do this. My parents looked at me. They looked at the foreclosure notice I had placed on the table. They looked at Bella, the golden child who had turned into lead. 30 days, Dad whispered, looking down at the table. He didn't look at Bella. Dad? Bella whispered. We can't lose the house, Bella, Mom said, her voice shaking. Maybe you can stay with a friend. I have no friends. Bella screamed. Because of the scandal. Then find a shelter, I said. Or get a job. It's not my problem anymore. I turned to leave. Anna, Mom called out. Will you come for Christmas? I paused at the door. No. I'll send a check for the heating bill. But don't expect me at the table. I'm done serving the roast. I walked out. Behind me, I heard Bella screaming, the sound muffled by the door. It was the sound of a reality check arriving 30 years late. 6 months have passed since that day. Life is quiet. But it's a good quiet. It's the quiet of a system running perfectly, with no bugs, no malware, no glitches. Sentinel Core is thriving. We just expanded to Europe. I have an office with a view of the river, but I still prefer working from my home setup. Old habits. I heard about Bella recently. Not from my parents, I keep our contacts strictly limited to emails about the house maintenance, but from Mark. Mark and I actually grabbed coffee last week. He's doing better. He looks younger, lighter. He told me Bella is working as a shift manager at a discount clothing store in the next town over. She had to change her name on her name tag because people kept recognizing her from the news. She's miserable, Mark told me. She blames everyone but herself. She blames me, she blames your parents, she blames the judge. But mostly, she blames you. I can live with that, I smiled. I'd rather be the villain in her story than the victim in mine. My parents are still in the house. They send me cards on holidays. I don't open them. I know what they say. They are trying to rewrite history, trying to pretend we are a happy family again. But you can't unring a bell, and you can't unhear your mother bargaining with your freedom. I still have the recording. Sometimes, late at night, when I feel a pang of guilt, because we are conditioned to feel guilt for setting boundaries, I listen to it. I listen to her voice saying, "You don't have a real career to lose." And then I look at my life. I have Sarah, my assistant, who is more of a sister to me than Bella ever was. I have Jacob, who invites me to his family's Thanksgiving because he knows I won't go to mine. I have a team of brilliant engineers who look up to me. I realize that family isn't a static noun. It's a verb. It's something you do. You family people by showing up, by protecting them, by being honest. DNA is just a biological coincidence. I didn't destroy my sister. I just stopped saving her from herself. I didn't abandon my parents. I just stopped letting them consume me. I turned the tables, yes. But more importantly, I flipped the script. I stopped being the NPC in their game and became the main character in mine. So here is my final message to you guys. There is a lot of pressure in this world to keep the peace. To swallow your pride, to apologize when you're right, to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. Especially for women. We are taught that our value lies in how much we can endure. Don't believe it. If you are the black sheep because you speak the truth, bawl louder. If you are the difficult one because you have boundaries, be a fortress. If they mock your dreams, your job, your hobbies. Build an empire so big they can't help but look up. And always, always keep the receipts. Because the only thing sweeter than success is the look on their faces when they realize they bet against the wrong person. I'm Anna. I'm a gamer. I'm a CEO. And I'm finally, truly, free. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, if you've ever had to stand up to the people who were supposed to protect you, please drop an in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of justice served cold. Stay safe, stay smart, and never let anyone tell you your worth.